You planted your Oriental lilies last fall, you watered them. You watched the shoots come up in May. You waited all summer for the giant, fragrant, pink and white blooms that were supposed to fill your garden by July. But the blooms never came. Instead, you have tall green stems, healthy leaves, and no flowers. Or worse, you have stems that look strangely cut off at the top, like something bit them clean. You've probably blamed a lot of things. The soil, the sun, the bulbs, maybe you planted them too shallow. None of that is why. The truth is something almost nobody tells you when you buy Oriental lily bulbs. And it's the same truth that has quietly ruined more lily gardens in America than every disease, pest, and soil problem combined. Deer. Not just deer damage, something much more specific. Something that happens in one night in the dark and leaves almost no visible evidence unless you know exactly what to look for. In the next few minutes, you'll learn how to spot the exact signature of deer damage on lilies. You'll learn a truth about how deer feed that changes the entire strategy for protecting them. And near the end of this video, you'll learn the one common deer prevention trick that not only doesn't work, it actually makes the problem worse. Stay with me. Why you blame something else? Let's start with why almost every gardener misdiagnoses this. When Oriental lilies don't bloom, the first thing gardeners do is look for problems that fit familiar patterns. Not enough sun, poor drainage, cheap bulbs, wrong soil. For most plants, those would be the answer. For Oriental lilies, they almost never are. Oriental lilies are forgiving plants. They tolerate a wide range of soil types. They bloom in half a day of direct sun. A healthy bulb planted 6 to 8 inches deep in decent soil will bloom, almost always. Which is why the missing blooms feel so mysterious. You did nothing wrong, the plant looks healthy, the leaves are green, the stem is upright, and yet no flowers. The reason it feels mysterious is because you are looking at the plant during the day. You are looking for signs of disease or stress. And you cannot see what is happening at 3 in the morning in the dark when the real culprit visits your garden. Until you learn what to look for. The deer reveal. Here is what actually happens. Deer are drawn to Oriental lilies more than almost any other flowering plant in your yard. Not the leaves, not the stems, specifically the flower buds. The buds form in June and early July. They are round, tight green, and they slowly begin to swell. They contain concentrated nutrients, sugars, proteins, and moisture all packed into a small, easy-to-reach package. A deer can walk into your yard at night, work its way down a row of lilies, and eat every single flower bud in under 5 minutes. Not the leaves, not the stem, just the buds. It is the perfect deer snack, fast, sweet, and abundant. Then it walks away. And the next morning you look at your lilies. The stems are still tall, the leaves are still green, but at the top of every stem where the flower buds should be, there is a strange, clean, diagonal cut. That is the deer's signature. Deer do not tear, they do not chew like a rabbit. Their lower teeth press against their upper palate and slice through the plant tissue in a clean, angled cut, almost like scissors. It is the single most identifying mark in the entire animal damage world. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. How to confirm it's deer? To be certain it is deer and not something else, look for 4 specific signs. Sign 1, the cut is clean and diagonal. If the top of the stem looks like it was sliced with a knife, cut on a slant, and the edges are smooth, that is deer. Rabbits tear, cutworms chew, disease wilts, only deer cut clean. Sign 2, the damage is at the top. Deer eat what they can reach without bending. If your bud damage is high on the stem above 2 feet, that is deer. If it is at ground level near the base, that is rabbit or cutworm. Sign 3, multiple stems, one night. Deer feed in browsing patterns. They do not take one bud, they take every bud they can find in one visit. If your entire lily bed lost its buds overnight, that is deer. A single missing bud is more likely a bird or a squirrel. Sign 4, look for tracks. In damp soil or lawn near the lily bed, look for 2-toed hoof prints about 2 to 3 inches long, shaped like an upside-down heart. Even a single clear track confirms it. If you see any 2 of these 4 signs, you are dealing with deer, and you need to know something else about how they feed, something almost no one will ever tell you. The 2-year truth, the peak. Now, this next part is the truth I mentioned at the start, and it changes how you think about protecting your lilies forever. When a deer eats a lily bud, it isn't just this year's flower that's gone, it's next year's too. Here is why. An oriental lily bulb produces its next year flower bud in the current summer. The whole system works on a 1-year delay. This year's leaves feed this year's bloom. And then, once the bloom is done, those same leaves continue feeding the bulb underground, storing energy for next year's flower to form inside the bulb. When a deer eats the flower bud, the plant reacts. It stops sending energy to the top of the stem. The leaves work less hard, the bulb receives less stored energy. And the flower embryo inside the bulb, the one that would have become next year's bloom, develops weaker or fails to form at all. So one visit from a deer in one night in July does not cost you one summer of flowers, it often costs you two. This is why gardeners find that even when they finally build a fence or start using a repellent, their lilies still do not bloom the following year. They think the fix is not working, but the damage was done 12 months earlier. And they are only seeing it now. Real recovery from deer damage takes 2 full growing seasons, sometimes 3. Which is exactly why the prevention strategy matters more than any other in this video. What actually works? Here is what actually protects oriental lilies from deer, ranked in order of effectiveness. Method 1. Physical barriers. This is the only method that works with certainty. An 8-foot fence around the garden bed keeps deer out. If 8 feet is not practical, a 5-foot fence angled outward at 45 degrees also works, because deer will not jump over an obstacle they cannot see the landing zone of. A tall wire cage placed over individual lily plants during bud formation from mid-June through late July is a smaller scale option that works just as well. Method 2. Repellents applied consistently, not once, not when you remember. Every 7 days without exception from the moment the buds begin to form. The 2 proven ingredients on the label are putrescent egg solids and dried blood meal. Spray on a dry morning, reapply after every rain. If you miss a week during peak bud formation, the deer will eat everything before you notice. Method 3. Motion-activated sprinklers. These work well for small yards with a defined lily bed. When a deer enters the sensor zone, a sharp jet of water fires. Most deer stop returning after 2 or 3 encounters. This method is less reliable in large properties or in yards where deer already have established feeding routes. Method 4. Bulb protection. Deer are not the only threat. Voles and mice also eat lily bulbs from below over winter. To protect the bulb itself, plant each bulb inside a small wire mesh cage, roughly 6 inches by 6 inches, buried at planting depth. The cage lets the stem grow up freely, but blocks rodents from tunneling in. Combine Method 1 or Method 2 with Method 4, and you have a lily bed that blooms every summer for a decade. The myth that makes it worse. Now the myth I promised you at the start. If you search online for deer prevention, one recommendation comes up more than any other: bars of scented soap, human hair in mesh bags, fake predator urine, aluminum foil strips. The general idea is that some smell or shiny object will scare the deer away. None of it works on oriental lilies, and here is why. Deer in most American suburbs have become accustomed to human scent, human noise, and unfamiliar objects. They walk past cars, past open garages, past children playing, and they keep eating. A bar of soap on a steak registers as a curiosity, not a threat. But there is a worse problem. Many of these homemade deterrents actually attract deer to the bed. The novelty of a new object in the yard draws them closer to investigate, and once they investigate, they discover the lilies. Lilies they might have walked past otherwise are now the plant right next to the strange new thing they came over to sniff. So the soap bar does not just fail, it advertises your lily bed. The only smells that reliably repel deer are the 2 ingredients I mentioned in Method 2. Everything else is folklore, some of it charming, all of it useless, and some of it actively counterproductive. If your oriental lilies are not blooming and you have tried the soap bar approach, stop, take it out, and switch to a system that actually works. So there it is. Your oriental lilies are not blooming because deer are eating the flower buds at night, one visit at a time. The damage is fast, clean, and easy to miss during the day, and the effect lasts 2 years, not 1. Do a check for the 4 signs. Look for the clean diagonal cut. Check for hoof prints. Commit to a real prevention plan, physical barriers or consistent repellent plus bulb cages underground. Skip the soap, skip the hair, skip the folklore. Give your lilies real protection, and next summer and every summer after that you will have the fragrance, the color, and the giant Oriental lily blooms you paid for when you planted those bulbs. The bulbs did their job, the plants did their job, now it is your turn. We'll see you in the next one.